Later. Y buenos días, muy buenos días. Ah, Suai, me gustan los árboles. I like your trees. I like those trees. My relatives have been.
Estoy en Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, estás en Cleveland.
Visitamos a
¿Hace fresco?
sí. Visitamos a mis los suegros.
Suegros, in-laws. Sí, sí, muy bien, muy bien. ¿Y tienen los colores en los árboles en Cleveland?
Lublando. Está lublando.
Ok, ok. Ah, Carlos, tú tienes los colores de otoño también. Wow, you got autumn colors too. Me gustan. Me gustan estos colores del otoño, de octubre. Muy bien. Ok. Vamos a empezar. Espero que ustedes pasaron muy bien el fin de semana. I hope you guys all had a really good weekend. We will review some things from last week. One of the things we're going to review in particular is that little reading segment early on about Girl Scout cookies, because I know some of you felt like, oh my gosh, that is really hard. I guess it was kind of hard. But we'll take a look at what all of it meant and what all the structures meant. And if you had a problem with the Girl Scout cookie reading, it was probably the reconstructing the phrases back into the sentences that gave you problems, not so much the vocab, but the how do I put all these words in the right order that gave you more trouble. Yeah, and so that you know that is a very normal thing to be harder to do, but it's a good thing to do little by little because you see what I mean, just word order, word sequence is always a super important thing. With your speaking as well as your reading, but you kind of are able to sequence word order better when you speak if you do more reading. That does help you with that. So we'll take, but despite the fact that it was probably hard for many of you, if not most of you, despite that fact, most of you did very, very well. I mean, if you thought you were all going to get like 100% on that one, it's pretty hard. Come on. I mean, you got anywhere from the 70s up with that. You were doing well. But it's good to stretch yourselves every once in a while. So we'll go back to that in a minute, en un minuto. We'll also, of course, spend most of our time on direct objects and where all that stuff goes. And more practicing, you'll be practicing with each other. So, okay. Primero. Ay, ¿dónde está? We still have a few folks coming in. So it's good that we're kind of warming up here. Okay. Vamos a empezar con. We're going to begin with this galletas de Girl Scouts. Girl Scout cookie thing. We're going to take a look at it, and I'm not going to have it read to you. I'm going to read it to you, but I'm going to read it to you kind of slowly. We will take a look at, just how things hang together for this. That's our warm-up, okay? Vale, okay. Aquí. Cada año, every year. Each year. Cada means each or every. Cada, and by the way, you may look at cada año and say, why is it cada ending in a when it's año ending in o? Isn't cada talking about año? Shouldn't it be cada? But that word cada is just always cada. Cada never changes in form. It's always cada. Cada año, every year. So they're starting out by giving you a time frame. Cada año, Girl Scouts de Estados Unidos tienen una gran venta de galletas. They have a big cookie sale. And we can't use cookie as an adjective. We have to use it as a de galletas. Okay. So, whereas we say cookie sale, and we're really using the noun cookie to say what kind of a sale it is. In Spanish, when you use a noun to do that, it has to be de and that noun. So, una gran venta, a great big, a huge cookie sale. Una gran venta de galletas. La mayoría de los años, most years, the majority of years, but we would say that as most years. La mayoría de los años comienzan a vender galletas. They begin to sell cookies. And I'm going to pause as a chunk of words pause, the way you should be pausing. Comienzan a vender galletas. They start to sell. They begin to sell. We could have subbed in a synonym that means exact same thing as comienzan. We could have used, instead of comienzan, empiezan. It would have meant the same thing. It's just like saying start instead of begin. No big difference. Comienzan a vender galletas en enero. And now we're getting it, we have another time frame. So most of the time they start to sell cookies in January. Okay. El 18 de agosto, and here we're giving a date off the calendar. And remember, we don't say in Spanish August 18th. We always frame it as 18th of August. El 18 de agosto, el grupo acaba de compartir. El grupo, cognate, yay. El grupo acaba de compartir. Now, if you forgot acaba de compartir, we should think of that as a word chunk together. Acabar de means to have just done something. It indicates that it's recent past, not way far back in the past, but recent past. But the benefit is we don't need to know past tense to use acabar de. We conjugate acabar de in present. We insert that little word de, and then the thing we just finished doing is the infinitive. Remember, when we've got two verbs working together, first one gets conjugated, second one just goes along for the ride, it stays as an infinitive, okay? And acabar de happens to need that little word de, it just does. So acaba de compartir has just shared, acaba de compartir algunas noticias sobre cookies, some news about cookies. Ellas vas a vender un nuevo sabor. And we've got another two verb setup here, going to sell. They're going to sell a new flavor. Sabor here means a flavor. Para vender un nuevo sabor, a new flavor. Often new because it doesn't really conjure an idea that like creates a picture. Words like new and old, sometimes even big and small, often precede the noun instead of following it, often. Adjectives that truly paint a picture, like create a mental photograph in your head, like colors, or sizes of things, or shapes, those kind of adjectives. They will follow a noun, but often words like new and old might not. Okay, un nuevo sabor de galleta, a new cookie flavor, en 2021, 2021. Se llama Tostille. Well, we can't, yeah. Brand names usually don't get translated. La galleta sabe a tostadas francesas. The cookie tastes. And when we say tastes like, they don't use the word like. It's sabe a. It's just what that verb does. Okay? And that sabe is not the no saber. Oh, yeah. This, I should have warned you about that, but I forgot to. Okay, saber is to know, right? But there is saber too, which is related to that word sabor, flavor. And saber has a second meaning. It can also mean to taste, like when we designate a flavor for something. Not for somebody to take a taste of something, that's probar, but something has a flavor of chocolate, has a flavor of vanilla, let's say, okay? So, sabe a tostadas francesas. It tastes like French toast. Tostadas francesas, toast. Tostadas francesas, French toast. Okay. El grupo de exploradores, and sometimes that's what we call Girl Scouts, we do it in Spanish, explorers. The Brits do that too, right? Explorers is often used for the idea of scouts. So that's what they mean by with Girl Scouts. El grupo de exploradores dice que, says that, dice que está sumergido en una deliciosa glaseado. Está sumergido is submerged, it is dipped in. Sumergido looks like submerged, doesn't it? Yeah. It's dipped in a delicious, glaseado is icing. Like frosting. Icing, coating, anything that's coated. So if you dipped apples into, you know, caramel at this time of year, they would call that sumergido, and they would consider it like a glaseado, even though it's a syrup. Okay. Here we've got a lo. Here we have the word it. Lo describen, lo describen. It, they describe. That's the word order it has to be. That's what you're going to start use today. Lo describen, they describe it. In English, however, the word order is they describe it. In Spanish, the word order has to be it, they describe. The word it or he or she, you know, him or her, I shouldn't say he or she, her or him or whatever that pronoun stands for will be in front of the verb. So it, they describe. Lo describen como, as. Lo describen como lleno de sabor en cada bocado. Full of flavor within every mouthful. Bocado is every bite, every mouthful. La galleta se vende. La galleta se vende. The cookie is sold. Cookie doesn't do the selling, right? This is like this is the conversational form of what we would call a passive voice. The cookie really receives the action of being sold, right? It is sold. That's like what we call passive voice, okay? And that's why that is set up as se vende. Se vende is sold. If you see little signs, if you go to Mexico, España, donde quiera, wherever you may want, and you see little signs that say se vende, they mean something is for sale. Like houses or apartments or condominiums for sale. They'll have a se vende. And it's for sale, right? It's not selling something, it's for sale. La galleta se vende. The cookie is sold. Solo en algunos lugares, only in some places. That mean everybody won't have them, okay? Algunos lugares. You've had that word algunos, right? Algunos, some places. Las galletas Girl Scouts son populares. Girl Scout cookies are popular, yeah. There's an easy sentence, okay? Samoas, now we have like brand types. Samoas y tagalongs son dos de los mejores sabores. Samoas and tagalongs are two of the best. Mejores is best. Mejores sabores, best flavors, you know, types. Sabores de galletas.
Can you translate mejores as popular?
Mejor is best.
Best, okay.
Yeah, and mejores is just the plural because they're talking about the flavors that they have.
Yes.
So they're talking about the most popular ones, like out of all the varieties that they have.
Right.
Los mejores, or los mejores sabores, the best flavors. And they would mean probably, in a sense, the most popular, because the ones that sell them the most.
As I read it in my head, I said, oh, that must mean popular.
Yeah, like bestsellers. You
Right.
could interpret it that way. You know, they're the best because they sell the most.
Right.
Okay, because that's always a subjective thing. But what do they sell the most of? Okay, they're going to go in one category. Las tendencias también son las favoritas. Tendencias also are favorites. We could switch that order and say son también. We could. Makes it a little more poetic to stick the también in front of the verb, but it doesn't change the meaning really at all. Las tendencias también son las favoritas de mucha gente. Oh, I had a misplaced period there. I'm sorry, perdón. De mucha gente, of many people. So many people also like tendencias. Muchas Girl Scouts van a las puertas. Go to the doors, right? Van a las puertas de las personas. Go to people's doors. So they go to door. Van a las puertas de las personas. And now we've got our last chunk. Para vender galletas, in order to sell cookies. There, para is not interpreted as for. You know, we use para for a few reasons, really. Para can mean for, meaning you're the intended recipient, right? Es para ti, it's for you. You have a gift in your hands. Here, para with a verb will always mean in order to do that thing. Para vender, in order to sell cookies. So they go door to door in order to sell cookies. In March, los miembros de los Scouts, the Girl Scout members, dejan de hacer eso. They've stopped doing this. Dejar has many meanings. Dejar can mean to leave behind, like leave a tip. Can mean to leave a person behind, like you drop them off. When we put a de after dejar, and now we're pairing it up, that two verb combo again. First verb, dejar, conjugated. Second verb goes along as the infinitive. Dejar de means to stop doing something. Dejan de hacer eso. They stopped doing that. They're stopping that practice of going door to door. Dejan de hacer eso. Eso means that. And eso is just talking about that. What's that? That is the action of going door to door selling. So they said stop doing that, meaning going door to door. También dejan de vender galletas. They have also stopped selling cookies. Dejan de vender galletas en los puestos de galletas, in the cookie booths or cookie stands, you know, like when you're out at the drugstore, not drugstore, but it could be the drugstore, usually the grocery store. They'll allow them to set up a little table. Okay, and even though it's a table, and we might say table, a puesto is a stand where you sell something. So that's why they use the word puesto. Puestos de galletas, a little cookie booth, right? A cookie stand instead of a lemonade stand. And now they're going to tell us why. Debido a, because of. Debido a means owing to, but we would say because of. Debido a COVID-19. So no cookie booths, no cookie stands because of the whole pandemic thing. Es la enfermedad provocada. It is the illness. Enfermo means sick. So enfermedad a DAD at the end turns it into a noun. It turns sick into a noun. Sickness, illness, it can mean disease. Enfermedad can mean disease. Es la enfermedad provocada, provoked or caused by. Provocada is provoked or caused by. Por el nuevo coronavirus. And again, you see that they put new, not following the noun, but in front of. Okay? We'll do a little more with that pretty soon, that concept of which pronouns, or excuse me, which adjectives go in front of nouns versus the ones that always follow. Okay, es la enfermedad provocada por el nuevo coronavirus. Se extiende por todo el mundo. This se extiende is like the se vende you had earlier. Se extiende, meaning kind of a passive voice. It is extending, it is spreading. It is spreading. Se extiende por todo el mundo. It's spreading throughout the world. Por todo el mundo. Por todo el mundo, you should see, is a big chunk. Por todo el mundo means through all the world, throughout the world. Vender galletas, and here we're really using selling. In English, we would say selling cookies. Selling cookies. And we're not saying she is selling cookies or we are selling cookies. We're using sellings actually as a noun. We're taking selling and making it a gerund. They call that a gerund. We're using it really as a noun to describe, here's this activity. And when you use the verb as an activity, rather than conjugating it, when you use it as a selling, cycling, driving, eating, when we use that as a noun, we use the infinitive. We use the infinitive. So, vender galletas means selling cookies in this case. That's how we would translate it. Vender galletas, perdón, sí.
The DO version is, I understood the DO ending to be the ING ending. So.
It's ando.
Yes.
Ando. Yeah, that ANDO is ING, but we cannot use ando. Okay, so in this case, because it comes from vender, an ER verb, it would not be vendando, it would be vendiendo.
Vendiendo, okay.
Vendiendo would mean selling, but it means selling when I use it with a star in front of it. So, okay. Estoy vendiendo galletas, I am selling cookies. Ellas están vendiendo galletas, they are selling cookies. Then it is vendiendo. But when I say selling cookies and I use it as a noun, selling cookies is a fundraising activity.
Right.
Selling cookies is done by the Girl Scouts. Then I can't use vendiendo. It has to be just the infinitive, vender. Vender galletas en persona, and there's how the chunk looks. Vender galletas en persona. Selling cookies in person. En persona. And now we've got another chunk. Puede ayudar. Puede ayudar. Can help. Puede ayudar a que el virus se propague. Now there is a tough phrase. Can help the virus to propagate. You would probably in conversational English not say propagate. You would probably say spread. It helps that the virus may spread. Okay. That is the hardest word order phrase in the whole thing. That's the hardest one. Okay, and because it's got lots of things, it's got subjunctive. So now, you know, the important thing is not that you can get every single word in the right order. The important thing is that you get the gist or the flow of what they mean. Not necessarily that you can translate that word for word. Ok, entonces, el grupo comienza a vender galletas solo en línea. So then, meaning they're saying afterwards, after this event of we can't do it in person anymore. Entonces el grupo comienza, the group starts, comienza a vender, starts to sell, comienza a vender galletas, starts to sell cookies. Solo en línea. We're telling how, only online. Las ventas van a continuar en línea. We've got the two verbs set up. Not they are selling, but they're going to continue. They're going to keep on online. They're going to continue online. Van a continuar. En 2021, in 2021, Girl Scouts siguen vendiendo. They keep on selling. And now we do have vendiendo, selling. Instead of using están vendiendo, they are selling. They instead of putting están in front of vendiendo, they're putting in siguen. And then what that means is they continue selling. They keep on. We would say keep on selling. Siguen vendiendo cookies en línea. Algunos exploradores venden galletas en persona. Some scouts are selling cookies in person, pero tienen que hacer, they have to make or do it. Tienen que hacer una distanciamiento social. They have to do social distancing. There's no nice way to phrase that. Social distancing is a new terminology for them too. They have to practice social distancing, right? And we probably could have said practicar instead of hacer, but they used hacer. El distanciamiento social significa mantener un espacio entre usted y las personas con las que no vive. El distanciamiento social, social distancing, signifies, mantener un espacio. Maintaining a distance, we would say keeping a distance, probably, in just conversational English, but you could say maintaining a distance. Entre usted, between you, y las personas and people con las que no vive. Con las que no vive should all hang together. With those with whom you don't live. With those people you don't live with. Esto ralentiza la propagación del virus. There's a hard verb for you. Ralentiza means to slow down. Esto ralentiza. This practice of social distancing is what esto refers to. Slows down the propagation or the spread, right, del virus. El grupo quiere mantener. We got a two verb set up. Quiere gets conjugated. Mantener stays in infinitive. The group wants to maintain or keep. Quiere mantener a sus miembros a salvo. Oh, and we've got an a personal. The group wants to keep its members. Members are a direct object. And members here indicates human beings. When a human being is a direct object, we must stick that little word a in front of the name of the person or people. Quiere mantener a sus miembros a salvo. A salvo just means safe, in safety. Keep their members safe. Quiere mantener a sus miembros a salvo. A sus miembros a salvo. Okay. Bien. What if we took this a sus miembros and we turned it into the word them, a pronoun? What would the pronoun have to be?
Los.
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 If I wanted to take that whole phrase out and substitute a teeny tiny short word, the little tiny word would be the pronoun. It would be the pronoun los. Now, where would I put that word los? Because we would say keep them. They can't put the word los after the verb.
Before quiere.
It would have to be before quiere. There's going to be a little switch. It could be before quiere because it's a two-verb setup, and we haven't talked very much about this, but maybe we'll get time to today. There are two places actually that would be okay here. We could put it in front of the verb, like you learned. So it would be el grupo los quiere mantener. El grupo los quiere mantener. Because I've got a two-verb setup, though, you have some play room, some leeway. You have a choice. We can say el grupo los quiere mantener, which is what you learned, put it in front of the conjugated verb. I also have the option to take the word los and attach it right onto the end of mantener, which is very close to what you're used to doing in English. So when I've got a two-verb setup, I can also correctly choose to say el grupo quiere mantenerlos. And both positions for los is okay when I have two verbs together. When I have two verbs together. It's not okay with only one verb. It's okay when I use two verbs together. So that can read again, just so you can kind of wrap your mind around this. El grupo los quiere mantener. Or, equally correct, el grupo quiere mantenerlos. Now, the question most people usually have is, which one is more common? Neither. People say whatever they feel like. Latin America doesn't do something different than Spain, than the Caribbean. People will put that word in front of the verb or attach it to the end of the infinitive as they feel like it. It's just a choice you have. Sí, dime.
Why wouldn't you use las instead of los? Because you're referring to the Girl Scouts, right?
Oh, buena pregunta. Qué buena pregunta, Marianne. Sí. Okay. Yes, you would think it should be las. You know, you could say las, but because we're substituting for the word miembros, and that happens to be a masculine word. But you're right. Somebody could, just thinking group of girls, they have a mental picture in their head, like a little word bubble coming out of their brain. They might use less, and that would be okay. Está bien. Good. Okay. Does that make more sense now that we kind of walked through that? Un poquito mejor. A little better? Okay. I will make sure next time I give you guys a reading that I have a website that will pare things down from, it pares down the word order to make it the simplest possible. So I can choose a really high level of sentence structure or the most simple. So it would be like reading a second grade book versus a high school book, or a third grade book instead of a high school book. I'll make sure whenever I give you a reading like that, that I keep it in a really super manageable format. Okay.
I find this one is easier than that wildfire at California one.
It should have been easier than that. Yeah. The terminology was not as scientific. And that helps a lot too. Yeah, ayuda mucho. It helps a lot. Ayuda mucho. Okay. A ver. Bueno, vamos a continuar. We're going to continue with this idea of direct objects. So I looked at what you guys have been doing so far, and it looks like you've got this concept down pretty well. The difficulty comes in a couple of segments. First of all, understanding that the direct object does not do the action of the verb, they receive the action, okay? And once you get past that hump, which I think you guys have, the next hardest thing is to always stick that pronoun, that direct object pronoun in front of the verb, because that word order is not natural for an English speaker, right? You're going to say, I'm helping her, I'm helping him, but really you're saying, him I help. Okay. Here is the one thing I want you guys to totally remember. And let me get my little word box here. Here are the pronouns we will be working with, and I'm going to put them across from each other because that goes according to first person, second person, third person, right? Okay. Here are the direct object pronouns. Me, te, and that me would be me, like you call me or you see me. Te, I call you, I see you, right? Let's look across from me at the plural of me, which is nos, which means it's myself and somebody else with me. Might be one person, might be 100 people, right? Nos will mean us here, not we, but us, right? They're calling us, they see us. Os only in Spain, it's the plural of te, it's you guys, right? Okay, but we don't use that on this side of the Atlantic. And now we've got these 4 remaining words, lo and los, la and las. Not el, but lo, right? Lo can stand, okay, let me back up a little bit. Me and te and nos have to be human beings, right? Os as well. Me, te, nos, and os have to be human beings.
Mhm.
Lo, la, los, and las might be human beings, they might be things. It depends. So that's why we have so many meanings for lo. Lo can mean him. Lo can mean it, a thing that is masculine. Okay, so lo veo, you have to know the context of what happened before I said that, lo veo. Somebody might say, you're sitting on the street, ¿Dónde está Juan? ¿Dónde está Juan? Where's John? Ah, lo veo.
Mhm.
You know lo means him, because in the first sentence you said, ¿Dónde está Juan? Where's John? We know we're looking for John, right? Ah, lo veo. I see him. But you might also be saying, ¿Dónde está el taxi? ¿Dónde está el taxi? Ah, lo veo. Now, lo does not mean him. Lo veo means I see it, el taxi, the taxi cab, right? So lo can indicate a human being. It can indicate a thing. It can also be a substitute in for you, usted. It can be, okay? La, similarly, can mean her. La veo, I see her. La veo can also mean I see it. Okay, and then or it can be you, that's a formal you, and that happens to be usted, a lady. Okay, and of course, los will be the plural. Los will be them meaning people or things. And notice in English, them does not distinguish between people or things. So, English in that sense does a similar thing to Spanish. Los means them, people, or things. Las means them, people, or things, but only out of that feminine category. So those are going to be the only pronouns we use. These pronouns are generally going to be in front of the verb. Lo veo, I see him or I see it. Lo busco, I'm looking for him or I'm looking for it. La llamo, I'm calling her, probably her. I guess it could be an it if it were a dog or an animal of some kind, but things like that. Okay, está bien? We good so far? Okay, so most verbs, they won't always go in front of every single verb, but they usually go in front of the conjugated verb. There are certain instances like commands, like double verbs with an infinitive where we might do other things, but we'll take that in a separate step. Okay, vamos a ver. Let's take a quick look through these examples. And I'm sorry, I'm going to apologize ahead of time. Perdónenme, please pardon me that I thought this was going to be very, very easy to just click in here and type in your answer, but for some people that did not work quite so well. Okay, we are figuring this stuff out. We are taking the sentences, changing the direct object into a pronoun, and then moving that pronoun in front of the verb, right? Abrazo means I'm doing this. Abrazo. Abrazo a mi perro becomes
Lo
abrazo.
lo abrazo. And notice that everything that refers back to this word perro, everything that refers back to it, the a personal, the me telling who it belongs to, that all has to go away. Okay? When you use a word like lo, everything in that little like cloud, everything that refers to the noun, in this case, the noun is perro, everything that relates to that direct object goes bye-bye. Lo stands in for the whole shebang, okay? The whole reason for using lo is to make that communication short, and fast, right? Just like if you see, say, wow, I'm looking for a red car, and then you say, oh, I see it. You don't say, I see it red. I see it, right? Okay, so we do the same thing. Muchas veces esperamos al cartero. Al cartero is the mailman. That's who we're waiting for. Esperamos al cartero. We're waiting for the mailman. So this becomes muchas veces. That doesn't change.
Lo
espera.
Lo esperamos. Un espacio. Lo esperamos. We wait for him, okay? Oh, and here esperamos al cartero is a person we're waiting for. Lo esperamos, we're waiting for him. But here it's going to be we're waiting for it. Esperamos el autobús is
Lo esperamos.
lo esperamos. And it's still lo, right? But here the lo does not mean him. It means it, because we're talking about a thing instead of a human. So I want you to get used to this idea, because we're going to look at some different pronouns later on that will do something different from this. Okay. Los voluntarios ayudan a los pacientes becomes los voluntarios.
Los ayudan.
Los ayudan. And now our a personal goes away. The word los goes away. Los ayudan. Volunteers help them. Help them. Okay. Bien. Ayudan a los pobres.
Los
ayudan.
ayudan.
Los ayudan. Okay. Muy bien. Ayudan a nosotros.
Nos.
Los ayudan.
Nos ayudan. And by the way, it would be kind of unnatural to phrase it as ayudan a nosotros. I mean, somebody might say that. They'll almost never phrase it that way. It's just done that way so that you get used to the idea of I'm going to use nos. Okay. Nos ayudan. Okay. Las madres acompañan a sus niñas a la escuela. Las madres. Las. Acompañan. Oh, I don't have, I can't get, okay. Acompañan. I can't put my tilde in. Las acompañan a la escuela. We can keep the a la escuela. The a la escuela just tells where. You know, it's a prepositional phrase. A la escuela. It's a prepositional phrase. It's telling where they're going. Okay. Tu madre.
Te.
Okay. Te acompaña.
Te.
Okay. Te acompaña. Te acompaña. She accompanies you. And by the way, acompañar means to accompany. But does that sound a little formal to say, I'm going to accompany you to the office? We usually say, I'm going to go with you. Okay. Or I'm going to go along with you. There's a better translation. Las madres las acompañan. They accompany them. They go with them. They go along with them.
Could llevar be used here also?
Oh, llevar, you could. Llevar would be a little different. So here would be the difference. Buena pregunta, really good question. Llevar would mean to take, meaning I'm going to put you in a vehicle. And well, or I guess it could, yeah, it could be like take you by the hand and walk your kid to school. It could be. Yeah, it could. Acompañar. So llevar would mean take you to school. Acompañar would be to go along with. Llevar has a little more of that kind of guiding along feel to it. Like they can't, like they can't drive, so you're driving them. You know, you're the one doing the driving, or you know, can't necessarily do it alone. Acompañar can be, you don't necessarily need help, you're just going along with. Llevar, you're probably helping them out by guiding them through. Es buena pregunta. That's a good question. It's a real subtle kind of nuance between that llevar and acompañar. Okay, but llevar is probably in a vehicle. Acompañar would not be necessarily in a vehicle. Okay. Mi amigo es extraña. Extraña means to miss, meaning, oh, you wish that person were there. Mi amigo, and we got mascota, pet.
La extraña.
Mi amigo la extraña. La extraña. There we go. We don't have it. Mi amigo la extraña. She misses it. Mascota happens to be a feminine word, even if you've got a male dog, because we're substituting this word mascota. If you did say lo extraña because you know it's a boy doggy, that's fine too. It's okay. You know, it's all in the context. If you know the situation is it's a boy dog and you say, you know, lo extraña, misses it, that's good. Oh, my friend does not miss a person. My friend misses meat because they just went vegetarian, okay? Mi amigo?
La extraña.
La extraña. La extraña. Bien. Bien. Okay. Misses it. And now Carla is not standing in for a human being or a pet, standing in for a thing. And now my friend misses me. Mi amigo?
Me extraña.
Me extraña. Mi amigo me extraña. My friend misses me. And it would be kind of unnatural to say a mí, just so you know. That's their kind of artificially to get you to substitute the me word in there. The really natural way that you will always hear people use it is mi amigo me extraña. Okay. Are we good so far with the extraña examples? Extrañar means to miss, but not miss my plane, not, you know, miss the ride. Miss as in you wish that person or that thing were here. You know, the meat person, the person misses the meat because they can't have meat for whatever reason. Okay, mirar, to look at, right? To look at. Los jóvenes miran la ropa en la tienda. Are they looking at things or a person?
Things.
Things. Los jóvenes. Oh, and what do we do?
La.
La miran. And we can put en la tienda, probably you wouldn't bother with it, but you know, la miran. La miran is fine, just as is. La miran, they look at it. You can tag on the en la tienda. Okay, now we've got, they're looking at not things, not a thing, but a group of people, right? Los jóvenes, las miran, las miran, and look, a las muchachas bonitas, all of that stuff has to go away, right? The purpose of using las is to stand in for that whole phrase, to make communication shorter. Los jóvenes las miran, las miran. They're looking at them. They're watching them. It's a normal voice. Okay. Las maestras en la escuela. Las maestras en la escuela primaria. It's a certain kind of school. It's an elementary school. Cuidan a los estudiantes.
Los.
Los cuidan. Los cuidan. Muy bien, muy bien. Aquí, los sábados, this just tells when, right? Meaning it happens every single Saturday, that it's a habit. Ooh, well, let me put my A in. Los sábados, now, there are a couple ways you might interpret it. You might interpret los tres chiflados as a group of three people, in which case it becomes
Los.
los vemos. If you're interpreting it as the program, like the title of the program, it could be that. Ooh, I can't get mine slashed. There we go. Now, give me sábados. You might interpret it as lo vemos. So it kind of depends on what's in your mind. If you're saying Los Tres Chiflados as the title of a program, then it's an it, right? If you're thinking them as the three separate characters, then it's los. That's all. Okay, vemos a nuestros amigos. Ooh, this one's a little bit tricky. Should be nos. It says nuestros. It's an our.
Los.
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 Los. Los vemos. We see them. A nuestros amigos also goes bye-bye, but it does not become nos. Okay, nos would mean nos vemos would mean we're looking at ourselves, like in the mirror. Los vemos, them we see. Los vemos, them we see. Them is our friends. Okay, so this can be a little tricky in that sometimes people look at that word nuestros and they think they plug in a nos, but you can't do that here, right? Because nuestros tells who the friends belong to. It doesn't say we are the group. Okay, it just says that those people belong to us, essentially. Vemos a Juan y a Marta.
Los vemos.
Los vemos. I see them. And because even though we got a gal in the group, the masculine rules, right? So it has to become los vemos. Vemos programas en Netflix. We watch. Here it's so los. Los vemos en Netflix. Oh, why is it los? Because programas is one of those funny words that ends in M-A, and it's a masculine word. It doesn't look like it should be masculine, but it is. Los vemos. It's los programas. Vemos programas en Netflix. Los vemos. So that's kind of a tricky gender one. El jefe busca a José. The boss is looking for Joseph. El jefe lo busca. He's looking for him. Lo busca could mean he's looking for it. You've got to know what the people were talking about, you know, in the previous sentences. The context dictates what you do. El jefe busca el dinero. El jefe lo busca. He's looking for it now, a thing. El jefe busca las cajas de Amazon. El jefe
Las.
las busca. He's looking for them, and them has to be las because cajas is a feminine word. Okay, and now we've got some no sentences. No, know your way around. Do we have a no? We don't have a know your way around. We have all people. No, we don't know the neighbors. No,
Los.
los conocemos. We don't know anybody. Well, actually, that probably stays the same. But if we did,
No.
Okay, I know. Nobody is really kind of vague, isn't it? That really should stay on nadie. We don't know that man. No conocemos.
No lo conocemos.
No lo conocemos. No lo conocemos. We don't know him. No conocemos a esa mujer. No
No
la conocemos. Y no conocemos al presidente. No
No.
lo conocemos. We don't know him. Okay, bien. We're good so far? ¿Sí? ¿Está bien? Fantástico. Okay. A ver. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to save that for you. We're going to do some practice together with some pictures. Fotos, fotos, fotos. Okay. Recordar. I'm going to make you conjugate the verb. I am going to make you say, she remembers him. ¿Cómo se dice she remembers him? We're talking about this guy. Oops, perdón.
Ella recordé.
Ella lo recuerda.
Lo recuerda. Lo recuerda. She remembers him. She hugs it. And the tree is el árbol. El árbol.
Ella lo abrazó.
Not lo abrazo, but lo, because she's doing it. Lo abraza. Lo abraza. Lo abraza. And the abraza with the a at the end is not because a girl is doing it. The abraza is the conjugation for an AR verb, right? One person doing it. Lo abraza. She hugs it. Okay. He, let's make it a no entender. He doesn't understand her. He doesn't understand her.
No la entiende.
No la entiende. No la entiende. He doesn't understand her. Okay. I could use no la entiende for he doesn't understand it. If the it is a thing, like a Ramón no le gusta la historia, no le gusta la clase de historia, no le gusta la historia para nada, no la entiende, he doesn't understand it, meaning historia, right? Okay, bien. And now we got a llevar, and it's a gal that this guy is driving around. So, ¿cómo se dice he's taking her?
Él la lleva.
Él la lleva. La lleva. La lleva. He takes her. And now we've got pizza.
Ella lleva.
Él la lleva, probably, right? La lleva might mean caja, box. La lleva, it's probably a pizza box. So that would be, for pizza. Él la lleva. Okay. Otras cosas. Invitar. Invitar, and I'm going to tag on and a nosotros. Perdón. I can't put nosotros. I got to extend my box a little bit. A nosotros. ¿Cómo se dice she's inviting us? She's inviting us.
Ella nos invita.
Ella nos invita. Ella nos invita. She us invites. That's literally the way you got to make your brain work. She us invites. Ella nos invita. Ella nos invita. He's looking for signs. He's looking for signs because he lost his way. And letreros are signs. He's looking for signs. He's looking for them.
Él los busca.
Él los busca. Él los busca. Or just, we can drop off the él. Los busca. Los busca. Los busca. Okay. We're going to add an me. Oh, and I can't put my accent mark in. It has to be an accent mark, so we'll have to fix that later. ¿Cómo se dice? He's helping me.
Él me ayuda.
Él me ayuda. Or just me ayuda. Me ayuda. And now we're going to use ver with two different things. We're going to use ver, and we're going to say ver with palabras, words. She sees them, meaning words.
Las ve.
Las ve. Las ve. Them she sees. Las, talking about palabras. Okay? If instead of palabras, I used texto, the text, because it was a reading text. If I use texto instead of palabras as my point of reference, it would be
Lo ve.
lo ve. Lo ve. Okay? But now I want to talk about Thelma and Louise. Let me think about that. I want to talk about Thelma and Louise as a movie, película. And I want to say I'm watching it. I'm watching it.
La ve.
Not, or if it's I watch, veo, right? La veo, if it's película, movie, la veo. But if I want to say I watch Thelma and Louise as the two people, then it becomes
Las veo.
las veo, right? So it depends. If you're using Thelma and Louise as, you know, movie, película, la veo, I'm watching. If it means the two people on the screen, las veo, I'm watching them. Okay? Bien? Vale, magnífico. Now we're going to use dejar, to leave something behind. Okay? To essentially drop something off. Okay? A ver, llaves. I'm going to see if I can, ooh, can I, no, it's going to make me type here. Let's see if I can extend my word box down here, guys. We're going to talk about dejar with las llaves. Uy, ay, ay, ay. A ver, las llaves. Las llaves. If I want to say, I'm leaving my key for you. Or my keys. I'm sorry. I'm leaving my keys for you.
Yo las deja.
Las dejo.
Las dejo. Las dejo. I'm leaving them for you. Las dejo en la pared. I'm leaving them behind on the table for you. Okay? Las llaves. What about the mom is dropping her kid off for school? She's leaving him behind at the babysitter, or maybe she's leaving him behind at grandma's, you know, lo que sea, wherever he may be. El chico.
Lo dejo.
Lo dejo. Okay. I'm leaving him at grandma's. ¿Cómo se dice? I'm leaving him at grandma's.
Lo dejo.
Lo dejo
A su abuela.
en la casa
En la
De abuela.
de abuela. Lo dejo en la casa de abuela. Lo dejo en la escuela. Lo dejo en tu puerta. I'm leaving him at your door. Okay. Y esto, wow, this one I don't know if you can see so well. Tengo que engrandecer. I've got to make this somewhat bigger. Oh, la votación. La votación. A ballot. La votación.
La dejo.
La dejo. La dejo en el cajón. It's a big box. It's not a caja, a little box. It's a cajón. It's a drop box. Un cajón. La dejo en el cajón. La dejo en la cajón. ¿Bien? Good. Okay. A ver. What you are going to need next. Uy, a ver. Let me just verify that everybody's got this. Does everybody have this? Either print it out or they can pull it up on a screen. If you don't feel bad. Just let me know. We may need to do this. Okay, we got this one who's got it. These are the questions I want you to use. So I am going to show you a brief video. Well, no, I'm not going to show you a brief video. I'm going to assign it to its homework. I want you to actually go out and practice this, but instead of practicing it as just a fill it in, we're practicing it as a question and answer. And we'll do the first one together. Does everybody have this, or do we need to do this together? Everybody has it? Sí, todos tienen. Everybody's got it? Okay. Vale, magnífico. What I want to do ideally is to send you off into groups of 2 or 3 and split these questions up and see if have one person in the group ask the question and one or the other can't answer it. Okay, so but we're going to do the first one together, so you've got a model to work on, right? And the question is, esperas, are you waiting for? Okay. Esperas, and it might be wife or husband, right? Depending on who you're talking to. And I'm just going to take the esposa because it's the first one. Esperas a tu esposa cuando vas de compras. Do you wait for your wife or do you wait for your husband when you go shopping? Vas de compras is when you go shopping. And now you don't need to repeat every single thing in the sentence. The essence is I'm saying, do you wait for this person when you do this? So you're going to want to answer as, yeah, I wait for him, or yeah, I wait for her. Or no, I don't wait for him. No, I don't wait for her. Do you have to include the whole when I go shopping stuff again? Do you do that in English?
No.
No, you probably don't. I mean, you can, but you probably aren't going to repeat that back because you know the situation, right? Somebody says in English, hey, do you wait for your wife when you go shopping? Ah, I wait for her. Nah, I don't wait for her. And they leave the rest of it off, right? You can take it on if you want to, cuando voy de compras, but you don't have to. So how would we answer this in Spanish? We would have to change, let's take it as wife, esposa. We would change esposa to la. And now I've got to stick it in front of my verb when I answer. So you're doing 2 things. You're changing this to la. And then we're sticking it in front of this verb, but this verb cannot stay esperas because now you're answering the question. This verb becomes
Espero.
espero. So it becomes la espero. La espero, or if you're, talking about the opposite situation, lo espero. I'm waiting for him, right? Depending on your personal situation. La espero, lo espero. You can, but you don't have to tag on. Cuando voy de compras. It's superfluous. You know that's the situation, so you can tag it on if you want. Similarly, cuando viajo, when I travel, right? So these questions are asking, do you visit your relatives when you travel? Do you look for milk at the supermarket every week? Buscas, you seek it out, you look for it. Do you help your friends when there's a lot of work? Do you miss eating in restaurants or eating in our restaurant? Do you miss eating the activity? Do you miss eating out? That's the activity during the pandemic. Do you listen to new songs when you want to hear music? Do you know the governor of Arizona? Wow, you circulate in higher circles than I do. Do you know somebody who lives in Australia? Do you see a lot of cacti when you go to the park? Do you, or are you inviting us to celebrate Christmas? Are you ready to go out in groups and practice this small scale? Or do you have a question before I send you out?
Okay.
No, no hay ninguna pregunta. There's no question at all. Okay, somos 10. I think I'm going to put you into groups of 3. Okay. 7 minutos, 10 minutos, 10 minutes, you think? 10? I think 10. You know, you're changing 2 things. You're changing the lola, los, las, me, te, nos, and you're changing that verb over. So remember. Okay, and we'll, of course, do a breakdown, take any questions you have when you come back. Okay, remember to hit the join button when I send you out. 10 minutos, 10 minutes. Till 11.
Yeah, I was about to send you your questions for people. That's good. Question 3 doesn't look quite right to me. I was wondering what you really wanted to say.
Oh,
I'll ask you about it when you're done.
did you send it in an email?
I haven't sent, no, I haven't sent anything yet.
Okay, I'm sorry, I kind of did that.
It looked a little maybe hasty.
Okay. I kind of vaguely remember what it was, but, yeah. Ok, muy bien. Vale, fantástico. I want everybody to take themselves off of mute. What questions, qué preguntas tienen ustedes o no tienen nada?
Sí, number 8, we had my group, well, me, I had trouble with number 8
Okay.
because it says, do you know somebody in Australia, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yes. Okay.
yeah, so why would I need a pronoun for somebody?
Yeah, you know what? I probably shouldn't have put that in as an example as I look back at it. You know, you probably would answer that as no conozco a nadie. I don't know anybody. Or conozco a alguien. Yeah, that probably, that should not have been put in as an alguien. If we were to replace it, it would be a lo. But yeah, okay. That's kind of I should change that question. Oh,
Okay, gracias.
it's because of the alguien thing, yeah. But okay.
Número 5. 5.
Cinco. Let's ponder that just a tiny bit.
We decided low, but oh, go ahead.
No, right, because it's an activity. Now, actually, this brings up an interesting point. Don't we a lot of times say that I know it, and you're talking about it like a big situation? Yeah, I know it, I miss it, I'm looking for it. Whenever you're referring to something in a really vague situation like that, it's always low.
Low. Okay.
It's always low. Lo sé, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always low. Right. The activity of eating at a restaurant is an abstract, it's not a concrete thing, you know, you can hold on to. So it just becomes low.
Okay.
Bien. Okay. So why? ¿Hay otra pregunta o no?
Yeah. 10.
10.
It say invitas a nosotros. I understand that are you inviting us?
Are you inviting us?
Okay, so I'm one of my answers is si nos invita. Like
Invito.
yes,
Los invito.
us you invite.
Now, I'm gonna, los invito, I'm inviting you guys. If it were like an all-gal group, like a ladies' brunch, and it was just women in the group, las invito. Oh, perdón, las invito.
So
this one is a little convoluted in a way, right? Are you inviting us? Oh, yes. And you wouldn't say, I'm inviting us. I'm inviting you guys, a whole bunch of you. That was a hard one. That's why it was the last.
So I'm not inviting you. So I said no los, right?
Okay. Sí, exacto. No los invito. No los invito. If it was not definite as to who you meant by los, you might add an a ustedes. Maybe. But probably in the context of it, you know the back and forth, you probably wouldn't need the a ustedes part of it. It just wouldn't be needed. No los invito.
So if you use te, that would be te invito.
Te is only for one person.
And
Normally that would be okay. But because it's got to be a plural you, it needs to become los. Because of the question, it's a plural us. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to use nos, right?
It
because
wouldn't make
I inviting us.
right. Yeah, because we're not inviting us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not inviting. I'm inviting us. No. Yeah. That wouldn't make any sense. Right. That's why it was put at the end. But quite often you do ask questions as, hey, are you taking us somewhere? Are you inviting us? Are you looking for us at 8 o'clock or at 9 o'clock? So Right, all those situations have to be taken into account. Right. Perfecto, perfecto. ¿Hay más preguntas o no?
No.
No, okay. I was hoping to save a little time for accent marks, and I didn't save enough time for accent marks, but that's okay. I am going to kind of preface this because I am going to give you a little segment on accent marks. We are going to practice that as an opener next week. So I'm going to create a little Nearpod thing. It's going to have some 2 videos on accent marks, and it's going to have a little drill, but the drill's a little artificial. You really have to hear the drill. So the true drill will really be when we're together. This drill will be a little convoluted in that it is going to, instead of giving you, and I actually, there might be something that does an audio. If there is an audio, I'll try to inject it. You really have to hear where the stress of a word is, to figure out, okay, the pronunciation tells me it follows a rule, it doesn't need an accent mark, or it breaks a rule, and now I need to write in an accent mark. And the practice I found was a written one, but they like put in bold the syllable that gets more stress, just so you know, because they don't have an audio clip to do that with. But we will practice that together. They're really pretty simple. I think I had sent you this video before, the one with the lady who explained why we put in accent marks. You've seen that? And actually there are 2 done by different people, but they're both helpful in different ways. So I am going to create a little module that does that and one little practice. And we are going to practice that a little bit. Sometimes this accent thing, okay. It's important because sometimes you can have words that are spelled exactly the same, but one version may have stress on one syllable and one on another. So it becomes later, especially in terms of verbs, to hear that nuanced difference, because it can mean the difference between a present tense and a past tense. And one of the videos is going to talk to you about that situation, so you see why it can become important. It's super important to you for speaking, but whenever you read stuff, you need to know where those accent marks go, that accent mark is there because it says punch this letter. So we'll have a little drill on that. I'm going to find a good pared down reading that will be of interest and make sure that I get it down to a good level for you guys. And we'll continue with these pronouns a little bit. I am going to assign a couple of pages in the book, and Marianne, I'm going to have to erase all my cheat sheet marks from one of my other classes so that I can take a copy of this and send it to you. I want you to read through your book en la página, en este texto, sí. Las páginas 183, 183, 184, 184, 185, 185. That is going to talk about, again, it's just going to reiterate the order of these object pronouns, and then it's going to have a drill, but it's going to mix them up because we talked a little bit today, but did not emphasize it, what happens when you have 2 verbs. So the pages are in that book are going to go through normally pronoun in front of one verb, but pronoun with 2 verbs can be in front of the first verb or attached to the second. So it's going to start to walk you through that and give you some exercises with that. And Marianne, I will make sure I get a copy of that information out to you.
Thank you.
So that and everybody will get the link to that as well in case you misplace your book or whatever. But just so you know, las páginas 183, 184, 185 y nada más. And that's it. Okay, ¿está bien? Fantástico. Entonces nos vemos en noviembre. Nos vemos en noviembre. Qué milagro, wow. Ok, fantástico. Entonces eso es todo. That's it.
Sí.
I'm going to enjoy this cooler weather. Hace fresco, me gusta mucho que haga fresco. And I'm very, very happy that it is getting cooler. My husband is sad. Está triste. A él le gusta el tiempo caluroso. He likes hot weather. A mí me gusta el tiempo fresco. I like it cool. Sí. So, I hope you all enjoy your week.
Gracias.
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 De nada.
Gracias.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.